we're going to be doing another video similar to the last one. So this time it's going to be a Corsair. I'm going to be looking over a pretty good match I had that I did not record at the time, unfortunately, but replay is the next best thing. And the Corsair is not an easy plane to master. So this is just going to be a quick, how to fly the Corsair or what to do when you're flying this thing. This is a Korea match against the Russians, of course, and yeah, I ended up getting 4 kills and an assist. One of the, I believe the assist was kind of stolen, so almost an ace game. But yeah, so in the Corsair climbs pretty poorly. So as you can see, I'm climbing pretty much straight off the airfield, getting some altitude, and at this point in the match where, 2 minutes in, and if you look around, P-47's getting air spawn, and they're all the way up there already. P-63 is a little bit higher than me. That's a plane that climbs decently, but not poorly. The Corsair climbs, I would call poor for this tier. The Corsair is not an incredibly impressive plane. The F4U-4 here, I've been pretty impressed with the turning ability. It's still not going to out-turn anything in a flat turn at really any speed, but it has enough turning capability to be competitive. And this is between over like 320, 330 to maybe 500. If you go over 500, you're not going to be turning very well. The controls don't lock up that bad, but they kind of do, and from like 650 up, they lock up fairly bad. You can still kind of aim, but it's like any time you've flown a like a FW-190, where when you're going really fast, you have very poor, like the rudder kind of swishes back and forth, and you just have poor control over the aircraft. This plane gets that too. One other thing that's really shitty with this plane is the engine cannot run at 100 the entire time. It may be able to run at 100 the entire time. I actually don't think it can. And if you use any WEP, then at some point during the match you will overheat. So you have to be running at like 95 or 90 when you're not actively in combat. I like to use WEP to climb, so I can, because you really need the altitude in this plane. As you can see, I climbed off to the side for a significant bit compared to my teammates, and I'm just now at the same altitude as these middle-level Yaks, and there's a Yak 3 significantly far above me as well. These guys have dove low, so that's why I'm coming in to engage. There's a multitude of targets in this area, and I figure there's one Yak up high, which I would like to get rid of, but considering there's 5 or so or more targets in the middle to low areas, this is the better deal. So first we have a Yak 9T coming in for a head-on, and in the Corsair, this is a plane that anything with 50 cals, I would actually reliably take a head-on with a Yak 9T. But you see what I'm doing is that I'm turning my aircraft sideways so that the spread of the 50 cals, because the convergence meets at 0.4 for me. And so the spread of the 50 cals is vertical at this range, and you're more likely to hit like the engine or pilot or something in the central section of the aircraft, because you're getting horizontal spread. And then it also makes it easier to pull off to one side, the side that you're turned towards. I would not maintain a head-on with a Yak like this at close range, anything between like 0.7 and closer. The 37 does have pretty good range, so he could even potentially hit me at this range, but it's very unlikely because it shoots slow and it's hard to aim. So here I end up winning this head-on. Let's see if we can we do a free camera? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I end up winning this head-on, and I believe kill him, set him on fire, pilot snipe him, something, from a pretty significant range, because these 50 cals, they have pretty good range on them, so that's a pretty good benefit of this plane. I mean, every American plane has them, but it's strong armament, so there's nothing to complain about there. Then we have a Yak 9P coming in, and he doesn't do a head-on, he kind of flops down, and I try to track him, see if I can nick him while he's trying to evade here. And I'm set up for a good shot here, but I'm just a little bit off and a little bit behind. So I come back around, and I'm actually able to outmaneuver the Yak here, the Yak 9P. Now, a Yak 9P isn't the best turning Yak, but it still outturns a Corsair in virtually all American planes. So as you can see, he kind of cuts in here, and he would have outturned me there. See, I'm also going very fast, so I don't have a particularly great turn time here. He pulls up, and see, I'm tracking him here so I can catch him, and I almost do, but just barely off. This whole time, when I'm doing maneuvers like this, I have WNS bound to the elevators, and I can control my aircraft fully while watching the enemy. So this whole time, like, I'm pressing S right now for max elevator deflection up, and this is what allows me to catch this guy in the turn here, even though he outturns me because I'm more efficient in the turn, because I'm watching him the entire time. And a quick shot like that from 50 cals is enough to take off a wing. And that's what's great about a plane like this, where it doesn't outturn a yak, but it turns well enough to keep up and do stuff like that. If there was a prolonged engagement between me and that yak of turning like that, I would have lost my speed, and he would have still maintained his turning ability, while I would have not. And what would have ended up happening if I just tried to sit in a turn, a flat turn like him, he would have come around behind me and shot me eventually. But I kind of turned that into a scissors maneuver, where I was, we were turning opposite directions, and I caught him in that turn, and ended up killing him there. So now we've got, I think, 2 kills, and from here we go in low and get another 2 and an assist. This BTD, I will say, he was pretty helpful. He's not a fighter, but he ended up coming down to engage to help me out, and I appreciate it, just because he couldn't do much, but he provided a threat. If you have a BTD behind you shooting at you, you kind of have to break off the Corsair that you're trying to shoot at to make sure you don't die, right? So that was appreciative. So there's an LA7 here, and there's also an LA5 here who's previously damaged something. It looks like fuel. And there's also a Yak 3 off in this direction, and those are the last 3 guys that I end up engaging. So I try to catch this LA7 he's kind of climbing, kind of just going slow. I try to catch him in that, and what he ends up doing, I don't know if you can see from here, but he ends up doing what he should. He turns low, he turns down and turns low. I do get one little nick off him on there, but it doesn't do much. And that is a maneuver here that you do not follow. I'm going 704 kilometers an hour, and turning down into that would mean I'm ending up somewhere in the hills of Korea. So I pull up and extend, and the LS7 here, he was going faster than I thought he would, and he actually ends up catching me. What I'm trying to do here is that I'm essentially going straight up. I have a considerable amount of energy, and the Corsair is not the best at climbing or retaining that energy, but because it is heavy, it gains a lot of energy in a dive, but not so much in a climb. It's not as efficient. So what I'm trying to do here is go back up and just maintain that energy fighting. And I would have assumed that the LS7 would have stayed low. He actually noses up and tries to shoot me here, and he does nick me a little bit. He almost does kill me, because I underestimated him here. And then there's this other LA7 and this Yak 9. The Yak 9 doesn't come in soon enough to engage, but the LA7 other one does get close enough into where he almost hits me. But see, he's actually gaining on me a little bit here. And .68 is far, but it's close enough to engage, especially with Shavaks, because they have relatively good energy or good range, and they still hit hard at that range. So then what I end up doing here, he ends up hitting me in the tail just a little bit. He is pretty stalled out, and then this is a typical a hammerhead is with the elevator, or with the rudder. So, but, energy stall, and he is going to be stalling pretty soon, even though he had more energy than I thought. So I pop out the flaps and I turn around, because you also see my speed, it's too low. I wish the camera would be less retarded. But then here, this is a pretty easy kill. I cripple him a couple times and then end up sniping his pilot, I believe. No, taking off a wing. But yeah, so he ended up stalling right before I did, and yeah. That is something you can do in this plane. That's something you can really do in most planes, depending on how well they go. This LA7 here came in, but he came in a little bit too late to engage me here. That's another thing that I should have been watching out for in this match, was him, but I wanted to eliminate as much of the targets as I could before you always want to eliminate, like, don't just tickle this guy a little bit, tickle this guy a little bit. You want to just get someone back to the hangar, so you have less things to worry about. But he didn't get here in time to really shoot me there, which was good. This Yak 9 comes in, and I think I try to shoot him a little bit. Oh yeah, this is what happens. I set him on fire and I head on there, and as you can see, he actually ends up yellowing my engine. That was another Yak 9T, and I didn't get hit by a 37 there, but I did get hit by a 50 cal to the engine, and that'll be important for later. But this again shows that this plane, and really any American plane, is quite good in the head-on. And you see there, I did the same thing as where I kind of turned off to the side, made it more of a vertical spread instead of horizontal, and resulted in a fire. Now I've got this LA-7 directly behind me, and this is where the BTD comes in to help. I believe the BTD actually kills that Yak-9, which is the assist, so I did set him on fire, so it was, should have been my kill, but he actually put it out, so the BTD finished him off, which is fine. Really no problem with that. So now it just leaves this LA-7, who I now turn around to engage after the BTD takes out that Yak-9. And I notice behind me, I think you can hear him now. Is he here yet? No. Yeah, here he is. I hear a plane engine behind me, and a decent amount of this game is actually oral, as in A-U-R-A-L, not with the mouth. And that the things you hear can be pretty useful. So I heard him before I saw him, because I thought this Yak-9 was still... This is the one that we saw in the beginning of the match, way off in the distance, way high. And I thought he was still somewhere over there, but he comes in to engage. And so now I switched looking at him, and you can see I'm, getting out of the way of his guns, and he ends up overshooting, in which then I turn back around. And you actually see here, this is what I thought during the match, but I wasn't sure. I was like, I think the Yak's wings are a little longer than that. It's kind of weird. He actually ends up going so fast, he rips his wingtips off, which is it's a disadvantage of the Yak 3P, because it's made out of wood. That's why I like the Yak 9P, but that's a discussion for a different day. But yeah, he ends up doing that. I put a couple bullets into him, and he actually ends up crashing. I don't get the credit for the kill, but he crashes because he ended up ripping his wings. But... in comes the LA-7, he nicks me with one bullet. I wasn't paying attention to him there, and luckily enough, he didn't hit me. That wasn't really impressive on my part, I just wasn't looking to him there. But now I notice him, and I'm get him into a rolling scissors kind of thing, and I intercept him in his turn. I don't think I kill him here, but I get a bullet off on him, do some damage. And then the Corsair here, I'm going relatively slow, but I'm turning in on him, and he would outturn me normally, but as you can see, he's having some problems, and he's not the most efficient right now, so I can easily get back behind him, and I finish him off here, eventually. I'm not the best with these 50 cals as I am with like MG151s, but I can get the job done. He does eat some, but it's also not my best aiming. I know I eventually get him, yeah, there we go. And that's the match. So I got 4.5 kills, and then that Yak 3, I kind of I got him to dive on me, and he killed himself, so. But yeah, that's how you fly this thing. That's how I've found success with this plane, is that you fly at relatively medium altitudes, you engage stuff that's medium to low, you wait for your teammates to bring them low, and this thing does perform well at low altitudes. Yeah, the turn time's nice. It's manageable. It's, like I said, you're not going to be out turning anything like a Spitfire any day, or a Yak, but it's manageable. You can intercept people in turns. It's decently fast. The climb rate's not good. The armament's good. It's a fun plane. It's not the best in the world, but it's fun. So, that's pretty much it.